for this patch in 11.3. Olaf will be picked up for Aki yet again, but you're talking about other picks down in the bottom lane. Let's see if they decide to get the Samira nice and early, or at least partner up a support before it gets taken.
And we need to remember that, I mean, Samira is Eric's second most played champion. It's actually his best win rate as well. He's a 40% win rate on it out of 5 games, so doing quite well. But instead, wanting to go back to the Tristana and have that late game insurance that OMG know and love.
Yeah, also to match the early lane, right? We've seen Tristana's been talked about as, have that priority, have a lot of wave clear as well. So that's something we can digress more into. What do you partner up here for RA? Now that Rel's already taken away, you can deny a support from OMG. Maybe it's not even a question. Maybe you're like, hey, let's get mid for FoFo and something a bit more control mage.
And it's a pick I like a lot. We highlighted how FoFo has been going back to this time and time again. The thing they're going to need right now is some kind of setup and CC coming out. I don't really expect it to come out in the jungle. There aren't too many champions that do come to mind. They could go for something like the Graves, which is what we've been seeing. It's pretty much the default of like, hey, Udyr's off the table. The enemy is picked, either Lilia or Olaf. The other is banned. We just default to the Graves.
Man, Graves. I talked about this in yesterday's broadcast. He was 15 and 40 yesterday. I'm just going to bring those stats up again because he's 17 and 41 in the LPL. And that's when this champion has not been seeing great levels of play. But despite that, you do have another element that can, I guess, scale as well in the jungle. I'd like to talk about that more as we see the Zoe from OMG.
And now I wonder where we're going to start seeing bans from. I would like to see engage options taken away from RA. Even if you want to ban out, we see the Scion now, maybe even one of the engaged supports, because the top 2 left open, right, are Alistar, Leona. You ban one, you get the other. Sure, then we do fall a bit down the barrel. There is still Gragas, Thresh. You realistically even could pull out something like a set, but I think targeting out these engaged options is the right choice for OMG.
One of them gone, you mentioned the set, so we'll hold our breath to see if that gets taken away from Cold, or rather taken away from Hung as well. Both these supports have really good sets too, so...
Well, to be fair, I don't expect a set ban to come out. I think they definitely ban one of like the S tier, A tier supports, Leona or Alistar, and then maybe we start falling down the tunnel and see one of those more niche picks come out.
Alistar especially, right? Alistar hits that upper echelon at the moment. OMG instead, the Gragas, something you mentioned earlier on in the draft, so OMG getting their priorities there. Another engage option, as mentioned, in RA. They've already targeted away a solo laner. You're still missing that top lane here for New, so maybe they follow that route down and get rid of another front line.
You could expect to see a Gnar coming out from OMG potentially in Force, since it doesn't have too many bad matchups, so maybe RA index into banning out that one. If they don't, maybe you ban out a support yourself, try to push OMG in the direction of taking the support, and then you get the Gnar. Your head is bigger than 5, my friend, so thank you for helping me keep up with the draft. I used to have to do this for a living. True. And you know what? Hey, when I make my esports organization called, I don't know, I was going to call them Captain Clowns or something. Because I feel like, with my name and having Captain in front of anything makes it legit, so... yeah. Okay. Anyway, moving forward. Moving forward. They are going to get the engage support. They banned out the Alistar. They tried to call the bluff, I think, of OMG, but pushed them into taking the Gnar. They now get the Leona, and they hovered over one of the counters already. I think I would prefer to see something like the Gangplank coming out, though, because you have the immobile pick of Zoe in the mid lane. Even Tristana, sure, she's a rocket jump, but dropping that cannon barrage, I think will do quite a bit in these team fights later on, to where Jayce, sure, you're going to get lane prio, but I want to see RA playing for iBoy and Hung. Guess not. Jayce instead. Lane prio is going to be the call here, and see if RA can actually use the top lane. So there you have it, Lyric, with actually Cold moving back to a Thresh. Has been one of his best champions in history as well, when he was partnered up with SMLZ. Good to see it again here in different compositions to a degree. Walk me through OMG first. OMG to me stands out as a lot more of a pick comp running against what RA has, because RA has such a good, I'd say, they have a lot of range coming out from the Azir and the Jayce. They have the front line in the Leona. I'm just hitting on RA first because theirs is more stock and standard, right? Okay. 5v5 team comp, you have some split push pressure if you want. So to combat that as OMG, you have the Thresh coming out with the Tristana into the Leona, so you will have a bit of ability to fight in the laning phase. And then, of course, Thresh offering so much CC to roam around the map with the Olaf, get prio in your mid lane with the Zoe, and look for picks on the map to then transition that into objectives.
I also just really like when you see Thresh into Leona just purely because of Flay interaction with the Zenith Blade. It's a super easy counter just to push her away. Of course, the Solar Flare adds on top of that when you think about the Tristana too. So we'll see how OMG combat that bottom lane. A bottom lane that was relatively safe. We didn't see too much action down there in comparison. We saw RA trying to hit mid last game. We saw OMG floundering a little bit in the early game, but then really bridged into the mid game well. Going to this third game, Lyric, I never thought we'd be here, honestly. After watching RA destroy them in game number 1, I thought this was a quick 2-0. I thought we were going to get to IG and Suning that much quicker, but it seems like OMG have a bit more to say. A bit more to say than a team that's sitting at the bottom in front of Rogue Warriors in the 16th place position. OMG trying to bring us here with a Zoe against FoFo with an electrocute Zoe as well. An aggressive laning phase at the ready for OMG's mid laner. An aggressive lane hopefully to be seen as we finish off the series.
And I feel like we're in a bit of an awkward position for RA because, again, they picked up that Jayce to where I'd love to see them play around bot lane. I'd like to see Leyan after his first clear, so again, around the 4 to 5 minute mark, invest a gank into the bottom lane, try to burn a flash, and then Cold is strictly playing Lantern duty on Thresh, right? He's not stepping forward looking for aggressive trades. He's playing behind Eric. You can then use the prio you have from your bot lane to start setting behind Wuming mid and then break open the map in a similar way that you did game 1. My fear is that Leyan is going to have to give, not really ganks, but just hover and shadow for Cube, give him vision to prevent what happened in game 2 from happening, to where Aki just goes, hey, you have a very vulnerable top laner. I have a bit of CC set up in new when he does get Mega Gnar form. I have the soul on my axe, and we can just look to punish him over and over again.
We'll see. Wuming actually walking into trouble. Oh no, Shield of Daybreak, good night. And that's how you start a game in style as RA.
And that is going to be really sad, not only for the kill, but the fact that, you know, now FoFo's sitting in mid. It didn't look like he wants to shove that one. He doesn't want to shove that one in. It does look like he's going to try to just let the minions slowly kill each other, try to deny maybe 1 or 2 CS on the wave, and then stack a big wave to punish Wuming. And we have a split map coming out for RA, which is great. When we want to see them play around bot, it's amazing that we see Leyan in this bottom side of the jungle.
And I think there's position for a dive as well, right? With Smokescreen with Zenith Blade, like you can build the wave up in the bottom lane for iBoy and Hung and really position yourself to punish down Cold and Eric. Is that an opportunity, or is that too dangerous for someone like a Thresh?
I think we would need to see a bit of heavy trading coming out from RA's bot lane right now.
Okay.
We do see Eric and Cold playing on the wave, so it's definitely always a possibility. But I'm not too sure for the fact that observers are not focusing on the bot lane. But we have Aki looking to just continue with the cross map and go into the top side jungle.
And at the very least, when you have Gnar with a bit of early CC with the Evolve, it could lead to something in the top lane in response for OMG. Good Flay interaction we talked about there with the Zenith Blade combo coming through from Hung. Meanwhile, on the top side, just heavy trading as well. And, you know, the split map point I really love that you talk about for Leyan, because he was set up with the assist in the early game. The kill going over to iBoy as well. Just feel like RA are going to kickstart this game. And I also want to mention that Wuming coming back to the mid wave, he has Ignite. So he wasn't just able to TP and mitigate the loss that was there. You already talked about it. FoFo was able to push in the wave, stack it up. He's got a huge CS advantage to kick off game 3.
Yeah, and I don't think Wuming has caught the wave yet, so there should still be quite a bit of standing minions that he could take right now. The problem is that every time as Hung goes in...
Oh, good counter engage. Flashed away by Hung.
Yeah, but so that just happened. But as we see in the mid lane, if you look at Wuming's health bar, every time he's catching a minion, FoFo has a giant wave under his turret, he can continuously punish him. But I'm going to stop talking about mid lane Hysterics because these bot lanes want to go at it.
Of course they do. Once that second skin proc from iBoy, but I think right now OMG absorbing the pressure pretty nicely in Hung. Missing the second Zenith Blade there means that Flay will be back up and available to stop the engage once again by Cole.
Ooh, though, we see pings coming out from Leyan, so we're actually going to see the dive this time.
Wave stacking up as well, Eric and Cold, about 3/4 of their health as here comes the dive. Smokescreen, perfect position as well. The engage there, tanking up right now by Leyan. He backs away, it's juggled nicely. iBoy comes on in, the flash from Leyan, and it's a double kill over to iBoy, 3-0 on Kaisa in the early game.
Absolutely right. Hysterics juggled beautifully by the side of RA. Numerous members dancing on a knife's edge. this brings us back to game one. This brings us back to what we want to see, what all the RA fans want to see, is iBoy and Hung want to play for the advantage. Really nice level 1 coming out, punishing Wuming, leading into the split map, and it's all been just a domino effect after that to lead to these circumstances.
iBoy set up to succeed. I'm really curious about this back that he's making now. What it gets him here, if it's just a serrated Dirk, but no. Noon Quiver in the inventory, double log sword as well with potion for sustain. So this is going to get really dire. And I guess now more to talk about is how the junglers kind of reset the map. Because I feel like if you're OMG right now as Aki, you want to stop Leyan from continuing and repeating the gank after burning the summoners that they did.
The problem is you don't win 3v3 bot side and Wuming didn't take TP. So okay. I don't think it's a realistic option to just hover bot side as Olaf, because again, then you're just going to get into a 3v3 scenario. You're not going to win out. Sure, maybe you delay them from pushing down bot turret, but then you're just keeping the game in a neutral state where they are still winning the game. They can still turn to dragon. They are still winning in mid. You don't have any solo kill pressure in top side. So I think you just kind of have to accept the loss that happened. And it does look like they're going to get this dragon from where Leyan is on the map, but you're probably going to have to start playing a bit with new and at least getting some gold from killing Cube.
Going back to the condition where, you know, Jayce is going to win out this lane, and now that Leyan can hover, he can do a lot more with the other lanes. Actually spotted out an award here, but is going back in and is trying to vertical jungle on the other side for now, or rather just an invade, I should say. So there won't be any camps available bar the Krugs, but at the very least, I think the wave in a decent spot to punish New.
He can definitely look for that gank, but more action, Hysterics.
Hey, all right. For now, at least, the trades aren't going to be too meaningful. At the very least, some AoE splash damage from Eric as Colt takes the brunt of the return trade.
And Leyan was posturing like you potentially look for it as Hung... we keep getting baited, again. Man. We keep getting baited. Hung looks for it. There's the Flay interaction that you talked about, stopping any shenanigans from going through. But that's not stopping Hung. He's always looking for it.
I think, from memory, I think Zenith Blade is actually on a lower cooldown than Flay. I haven't done the math. I'm not going to put that out there, but at least Hex Flash is available. Shield of Daybreak, melee range, but Eric is able to buff the rocket jump at the end of the day. Cold flashes away. He's taken the Ignite. Needed another auto to seal the deal. Cold will get away, but he burns the summoner to do so. And RA continue to bully the bottom lane.
And now we do see Leyan heading towards his side. You can expect him to get that bot side skill, and he should even be able to take the blue buff. I think Eric's fine. He has his flash up. His cleanse will be up soon.
True.
And yeah, things going smoothly for RA.
Really good early game, considering what we watched last game was a bit of a mismatch from the play that we've seen in the series from Rare Adam. But this also, game number 3 feels really nice.
Hysterics, just to give you a bit of knowledge, Flay is on a lower cooldown than Zenith Blade early, at level 1. Zenith Blade's cooldown obviously scales, so later on it will be, but right now it is not.
Thank you so much for clarifying that. I took a bit of a stab. I had a 50-50, and sometimes you lose those. I really appreciate the information.
Hey, they're not bad odds, though. They're not bad odds.
Oh, you see the bottom right hand of our screen, though? That was a bit of a steal. The flag goes up. Perfect. I think like you take that, especially with the early state of the game, right?
I agree. You definitely do. Aki being also very carefree, as we should say, with his emotes.
Yep.
And we're getting back into a default position on the map. I think a lot of this stems from the fact that FoFo is on the Azir. He is winning mid lane still pretty handedly, but only sitting on the Merc treads right now doesn't really have too much to offer in terms of, you know, even if Graves did show mid and they do get a pressure gank off, FoFo doesn't bring much anywhere else. I think what you would be doing with FoFo at this point is maybe using the Stream of Shuffle and then trying to find a gank onto Wuming himself. But even at most, I think that should only end up getting a flash. So both teams going to be looking at this Herald rather than any shenanigans in any lanes.
And note that Cold's roamed up first, hung well on his way, but the difference is going to be that both these AD carries, or rather, both the supports are here. FoFo disappearing after using the Shurima Shuffle, well said. Hung moving in, though. Doesn't have the level 6 as Gnar is available. New quickly gets jumped out of it, and Leyan now level 6, positioning around the Herald to continue fighting.
I feel like the most important thing is the mind games, right? The white flag came out once again while OMG are in a winning position. But OMG have the poke. They throw it out with the Zoe. I'm not sure if FoFo just didn't have vision of where OMG are. Yeah, it doesn't look like they have any wards towards the bottom side of the river in around mid. Has to pop the ultimate right away. But OMG going to be the ones to back off because since New came down to Herald, it actually allowed Cube to push out the wave and rotate first. And now, yeah, it should be a free objective for the side of Rare Adam.
The bonus for OMG, though, is Eric gets to stay in this lane and kind of get back some of the farm he was missing out on when they were getting bullied out by the dive and the 3-kill Kaisa. So there is a trade for OMG, but of course the Herald with the early game state does feel like Rare Adam can do a lot more with it.
Still, I like that you highlight what Eric's getting back, because you look at items right now, right? Noon Quiver, Serrated Dirk, Pickaxe against Boots in a Longsword on the side of Eric. So if any kind of 2v2 breaks out right now, iBoy and Hung will just completely melt Eric in cold.
Plus, Eric has a level advantage here with iBoy moving up too, which is nice to bit of highlight. There's Cube and Nuke fighting it out still. And it does feel like Cube is getting back into the height of this matchup that, you know, you always talk about with the Jayce being able to bully out the Gnar. Of course, in this early game with the split map, Cube had been pushed against the turret, but CS evening out a little bit here, and Nuve, even with the level advantage, is now back towards his turret after getting hit hard.
Dragon is about to be up, though. Neither top laner has TP, which feels really important to note, as you know, we're not going to be taken back by these trades anymore. Hysterics, we expect them. The thing I'm more interested in is we look at the mini map, and Aki was hovering around mid for a second, but with FoFo pushing in the wave, he is going to back off. It does look like RA still are the team with complete control of the bot side. And FoFo's even sitting on some components now, so will have more damage to bring if the skirmish breaks out.
I'm curious, though, what happens around the Dragon here? Because there will be a TP advantage for Rare Adam. And again, with the Kaisa bottom lane, it does feel like RA should have that objective under their thumb, plus the Herald that Leyan still needs to put down.
I think even without the TP advantage, I like Rare Adam in this situation. The thing they have going for them is they just control space so well with Death Sentence and Sleepy Trouble Bubble. So RA will have to be very tricky with how they commit to this.
If they come on in, but the Dragon's secured while FoFo gets a 3-man ulti, at least the engage starts off. iBoy jumps back in, killed number 4, and OMG on the escape path, boxed for spacing itself. And OMG managed to get the objective, lose their jungler, but they have to worry about what comes next.
And they are just going to turn to bot lane. They do have the Herald, and they are dropping that right now. The good thing for OMG is they're opening up a win condition for themselves, right? They have 2 Drakes. They're going to make their way to 4. It is only a Cloud Soul. Doesn't really benefit them too much, especially when we're looking at champions like Zoe as well on their side. But at least after that, right, we're looking towards the Elder. But gold lead continues to snowball for the side of RA, but let's be honest, we saw that last game as well.
Yes, we did. And so there's a bit of skepticism. I will say, though, with 4,000 gold in the lead, we know that iBoy has it all. Herald's going to get another charge here after getting the first turret blood for this AD carry, who has Kraken Slayer, has a pickaxe, Serrated Dirk there too. iBoy just feels like he's taking everything at the moment. So at the end of the day, man, iBoy is the biggest threat in this game despite being down a level. This Kaisa is going to be soloing out pretty much everyone.
And now we're going to see them trade towards the top side of the map. Makes sense. You're going to start playing for top turret, and we know next Herald should spawn before the next Dragon. The thing I'm interested in is, again, we were talking about how we want to see RA kind of perform better, clean out wins, close out wins more cleanly. And it actually reminds me of an interview we saw from Hung after their last game, where Hung said, you know, coming out from break, in scrims, we feel like a lot of teams have improved to where we feel like we've kind of stagnated. And it does feel like we are seeing that here on stage in these last 2 series where, you know, other teams are slowly getting better, but RA is about the same.
They're playing this inconsistent game of League of Legends. I will throw that caveat in, even though what we saw in Game 2 is that, you know, this game still, that early game does exist in a very strong fashion. But you're right, you know, they do feel like one of the teams that have come back off a break, and we've seen the same RA that we were super skeptical about. Of course, when you're looking at the gold this game, our conversation doesn't make sense, but I think our audience should keep that in mind in case this escalates in the mid game, in case something changes or RA aren't able to convincingly transition themselves.
To be fair, I still think that conversation should make sense, right? Because we have RA right now who, again, is sitting in 7th place, 5-3, up against OMG, who are 1-7 and 1-7 in the league, are tied with Rogue Warriors in wins, but are only not last place because Rogue Warriors have played 2 more series than them and lost.
That's true. And both these teams do not look convincing in the league, so I think a very valid point to bring up. Into this game, just to bring us back to a certain point, it is a turret trade across the map. Aki and you committing, but remember that RA already got first brick down in this bottom lane earlier for iBoys, so it will still be an advantage turret for Rare Adam.
And they're just going to keep progressing their vision forward. We do see Leyan playing in the top side. with Flash available, again, they always have this mid play available to them, despite it looks like Wuming is playing close to his turret, so maybe that's why we're not seeing it to where you pop Stream and Shuffle to try to get at least Wuming's Flash, and that gives you more tempo to then look for picks in the enemy jungle. But RA just going to use the pressure from Kaisa to try to steal away this red buff.
Yeah, red buff could go down with a smite, and it does. Leyan dodges away from the sleep trouble bubble as well. Soulflare to get out of here. There's no blast cone to get out. New actually goes too far forward. The shuffle sends him into a choke. Gnar's great, but the damage is already dead. New trying to clean this one up, but FoFo, Hung, come on through clutch. iBoy may be dead, but now they've still got Leyan over the wall. An escape path from FoFo to make it through. Leyan is still doing Krugs. He will get spotted out and disappear at the end, and a worthy trade after the Wombos come through.
That was a very confusing sequence of events because we have New come in. I think the flank looks beautiful, it looks amazing, and for some reason he hops. I don't necessarily think in that situation you use hop. I think you just finish up getting your rage bar. You'll have a beautiful, what looked like potential 2 or 3 man ulti opportunity, as we're gonna get a replay of it. So comes over the blasting plant. You have 2 members right next to each other. Hops towards his team away from RA. FoFo comes in with an amazing ultimate. And then again, we have chaos all over. Really nice flash coming out from Leyan. It's already a 1-for-3 lead for the side of RA, but then we do see Leona go down on the backside of the fight to Wuming, and that's gonna be about where things end up. But yeah, I think we're seeing numerous, I'd say, questionable choices as well as mechanical misplays coming out from New over the course of this whole series.
Oh, over the course of the split, I think we've been critical of New as one of the bottom tier top laners in the league, right? You know, even when we've seen people like Alili in this team, it's been one question after another as to who the best top laner he actually is. We come back though, Dragon number 3 is up and available. RA this time around will pick up this objective. New coming into Gnar, but RA seem to be out for now. Lyric Cold misses the death sentence. New going in with a strike breaker. That's a 2-man Gnar ulti. He whacks down a great engage. Has hung over the wall. iBoy was caught out. He was the deepest out of all members, but FoFo, a 4-man ulti, sets up for the AoE blast from Cube, and all of a sudden, RA showing that gold lead in perspective. OMG are obliterated in a matter of seconds. Arky is the Olaf who will not survive. A triple kill over to Leyan, and RA wipe him clean.
What a beautiful combo. Shurima Shuffle into the accelerated shock blast. Health bars just melted from the side of OMG, and heck, New started that one off with a really pretty, good engage coming out.
Yep.
2-man ulti. We see instantly 1 member burst out that was Hung, but then FoFo just steps up and pretty much completely takes over.
I think we need to take the white flag away from Arky because it could be confusing himself every single time.
He might be
we'll have a look at this again. Yeah, his teammates may be like, all right, does that mean we lose? Because you're right, you got a really good ulti and then got in great position.
Yeah, Aki able to finish that one off, and we are going to keep our eye on FoFo because he's going to be the one to go in. And I was actually wrong. It was the Kaisa that was the one that was taken down. Accelerated Shock Blast was gorgeous. 2 members then go down right away. FoFo gets low, but Cube is able to follow up on the chase with Leyan and Hung as well. Ragnarok was already popped earlier to get that first kill for OMG, and there's just nowhere to go. And hey, we come out of the replay and RA have Baron.
Well, RA will have the Rift Herald, sir. I know you're ambitious about this game.
Oh, it's Rift Herald. So, yeah, I'm sorry.
Hey, with the fight we just saw, it feels like it's later in the game than it is, so I completely understand.
I saw the Baron recall, and I was like, oh, God.
Hey, side note, after Herald does go down, I just want to point out, we've got a Lord Dominic's Regard on Leyan's second item, so no attacks me, but a lot of crit to come through for this grab.
And we also have the Collector coming out for iBoy already, as well as Nashor's Tooth done on FoFo. So all the key items on all the key members, which, to be fair, when you're running RA's comp that is, 4 carries, everyone's a key member. But all the items are getting done. You look at where OMG are on their side, and they only have their first item, and then very cheap components, right? Kindle Gem. We see Doran's Ring still in inventories.
Yep.
And yeah, just pretty far behind. And that makes sense when actually I look at the gold. It's 8K. 8K Hysterics.
It's a massive blowout as iBoy just decides to ult in. Bye, Wuming. Goodbye. Collateral damage wasn't even needed because the Collector took away Wuming in a solo kill, and RA going to keep pushing. They've got a Herald at this point in the game, so this could just be used on an inhibitor turret.
Earlier, you compared OMG to Bill Murray. Does this remind you of any of his movies?
No, because all Bill Murray movies are great, and this is pretty rubbish from OMG. I'm sorry, that's very fair.
That was very honest criticism.
Yeah. I mean, Bill Murray's never had a bad movie. If anyone says Ghostbusters is a bad movie, then please excuse yourself from the stream. Alt F4, turn your computer off, and probably don't come in here for another 24 hours. So, RA, get the push down a bit, and before someone gets angry at me, just note, it's a 10,000 gold lead.
We have feisty hysterics today. Feisty hysterics.
Ghostbusters is a great movie. Now, let's be honest, the remake wasn't a good movie. The original, I think Ghostbusters 2 wasn't great either. The first one is what I'm talking about. First one. If anyone says the original Ghostbusters is not a good movie, no, you don't know what you're talking about. That's like saying Escape from Alcatraz is not a good movie.
And, just to give context to our audience, pretty much anything made through like 1950 to 1990, Hysterics is a massive fan of and will die on his sword for anything during those like 40 years.
The only thing I have never seen, which I still regret to this day, is I haven't seen the original Godfather movie, which is so weird. Yeah, is so weird. I think I've seen Scarface, I've seen all these classics. I think I've even seen Casablanca, right? But I haven't seen the original Godfather, and that should just be punished by me. Also, I'm still like 2 Marvel movies behind. I know this is more modern age, but yeah, I still don't, the Age of Ultron, the snapping fingers thing, I had to watch that through memes.
Oh my god, you are behind. The only one I hadn't watched, I've caught all Marvel, I didn't watch Aquaman from DC until, the other day when I'm like, hey, it's on Netflix.
I mean, you noticed I didn't because I called him Jason Mimosa before instead of Momoa.
Yes, you did.
Oh, God. That guy's a hunk, That guy, if he was an E-athlete, whatever the copy pastor
is,
man,
is rare Adam in this game.
Yeah.
Flexing on everyone.
Jason Momoa, man. Let's go. That dude's a great actor. I actually like it. I watched that Netflix series with him. As the poke's still coming out in this game. The reason we're actually kind of shooting the S is because RA is so far behind. OMG can't walk towards the Baron. And RA just keep... OMG can't walk towards Baron, and RA are just hovering around the fog of war, and every single time they walk where they have no vision, they get poked out like that. Collateral damage almost kills Cold.
To keep up our random nonsense, OMG is the DC cinematic universe, and RA is the Marvel in this scenario, right? Okay. I'm a huge DC fan, but we all know DC with movies didn't do as good.
Let's be honest.
In this situation, OMG
DC's Batman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Dark Knight was the best movie they've ever made.
I agree.
I think they made The Watchmen as well, right?
When it comes to comics and animated series especially, I mean, DC destroys Marvel. Destroys. But movies, sadly, not even close. We all know it. And again, that is the dynamic in this game.
Well,
now OMG just needs to find whatever their animated or comic, alternative to what they're doing is.
I would say that, there's going to be a long line of people ready to argue that one. But,
no one's gonna argue that one. No one's gonna argue that one. Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman. No one's arguing. Wonder Woman's good. Great movie.
Oh, that was a good movie. The main actress, Gal Gadot. Oh man, I probably butchered that.
I don't know how you pronounce it right, but yeah, we all know who you're talking about.
She's a great actress. Yeah. Let's take Baron, says the audience to RA, because OMG to have a chance in this game, there's got to be a giga throw setting up someone like Eric and. Cold is trying to make that happen as iBoy's coming in from the flank top side and RA still here in front of the Baron. We're sitting here waiting for something to happen as, this has been going for a while. Have they found Gnar? No, news out for now.
I mean, also, the thing is, Hysterics, the only real form of engage they have right here is Hung, right? I mean, sure, if the opportunity presents itself once OMG reposition, maybe FoFo can follow up with the Emperor's Divide like we saw in the last fight. But I don't expect to see FoFo starting no fights with Emperor's Divide, though that might jinx it. We might see it.
Let's see. Out of vision, Cold going in. Finally, something happens. Cold's going to pull the hook in, and you know what? This New from Gnar, or this Gnar from New, rather, is just not going anywhere. FoFo over the wall, Solar Flare sets up, Eric disengages. Somehow Olaf's still alive, and iBoy now needs to kite this one out. He Qs over the wall. Cube finally comes in with the TP, and this was the missing piece. Wuming's over the wall, gets ignited down onto Forge, who FoFo might do the job, but Cube comes over. It's a triple kill, and finally, the explosion happens.
RA just wanting to give OMG false hope. You love to see it. Cube waits for what he considers the right time to TP in. 2 members might already be down, but still you have wiped OMG. And then with Azir, with Kaisa, and with Jayce, I do think they should be able to easily take this Baron.
It'll go down quick, not too much sustain between the two. Apart from the Eclipse from Cube, that'll heal him up a little bit, but I think they need FoFo in, or at least iBoy to start tanking it up, as he does. And Baron finally going to go down. It's a 12,000 gold lead at 24 minutes into the game. This one feels absolutely done, to say the least. And with Baron, now the base can start getting broken down.
And we're going to get a replay of it. We do see RA were finally the ones to pull the trigger with Hung going in. Cube trying to buy some... Not Cube, I'm sorry. New trying to buy some space does immediately get bursted out. But still, we do see Leyan, just pretty much jumping to his death on the opposite side. Aki gets massive here with all the lifesteal that he has, is able to buy some time. But there it is. There's finally the Cube TP that we were talking about. He is so big at this point, finishes members off, flashes over the wall in just a matter of time for Aki is Leyan.
Yeah. I don't know what Aki was doing so far down, but
actually,
RA catch him.
Not even RA. That was actually just a solo kill. Hung didn't get an assist.
Okay. Well, that's how it's done, apparently. And 2 and 4 now for the Olaf. Now RA can start beating down some doors with 25 seconds left on the jungler from OMG. Stuck in a 5 versus 4, what could be for the rest of the game.
I mean, they have Baron. They should be able to see this one through.
Oh, yeah. Wuming caught out on that one. They also find Cold on the retreat path. OMG now left with 3. FoFo too far forward. He's frontlining for some reason against the Tristana. Cube can't connect the Shock Blast. And actually, because of that, I think RA have to stop pushing now.
No, they're going to back off. That is a bit unfortunate for FoFo. They might be able to take this mid inhibitor as well, but with Aki up, actually, they will have to back off, and we are going to be waiting 53 seconds for the next Conjuration.
Yes, we are.
It's 15K. 15K at 26 minutes.
15,000. Yeah, that's right. Big ones. $15,000 dues. You know what you could do with that in Sydney? You buy like free coffees, man. So
you can. I was going to say. Can buy like 3 coffees.
I feel like though in Shanghai, man, coffee prices in Shanghai are insane. Like you pay 30 to 40 RMB for a good coffee in Shanghai, and it's like 6 to 8 Australian dollars, which is absolutely insane. At least in Sydney, it's like $3 to $4.
For any of our American audience who hasn't left America, they won't know this, but we don't know what good coffee is. We also don't care. We're also in America. We are conditioned to not really care about how good or bad our coffee is, and to just drink coffee. I mean, I'm going to stop talking about this because RA look like they just want to finish. They want to make us stop talking about nonsense.
Man, I like your Diner coffee though, and is it going to end you?
Exactly.
Oh no! Leyan chases this one up, of course. As I don't know what he was trying to do, but New absolutely botched the engage. iBoy gets slept, but even without a QSS turret nearby, Poke comes down once again, and rest of the Baron to do the work. This has just been a comedy of errors from OMG.
We even have Dragon up, but RA just don't care. Leyan is actually finally making his way over there to do it now. Maybe next we can see the team transition to topside and start breaking down that final inhibitor tower and inhibitor turret, and to put OMG down for good. Though, to be fair, something we didn't get to talk about because we didn't get our segment today was the fact that, you know, it might sound like we're being harsh on OMG because they are far behind, and Cold is gonna die right now. So we're just gonna walk past that. OMG still play Rogue Warriors, TT, and LGD. So they still have the other few bottom teams left in their schedule. So all hope is not lost for OMG to pick up either another win or another few wins. It is doable.
The real question is, though, can OMG make playoffs? And I'm going to say no. You know, at this point, like, I'm going to be the bane of every OMG fan's existence. If you're 1-8, which you will be after you lose this game, as Wuming goes down, you ain't making playoffs, son, as there's a Ragnarok to get out of this. This team sitting on the edge now with all the base in tatters. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, RA are going to be pushing in with such a massive lead. This was an easy game. It just took a while to finish off the bare batches of the Nexus. As now it's exposed. FoFo comes in with a great ulti yet again. And RA in another 2-1 win leaves us in a middling ground for this team to beat down OMG.
That is the worst part, right? The fact that RA still win, but again, they do it in such an unconvincing fashion. It's like they are now on a 5-series win streak. That is massive. If you just looked at their stats, you'd be like, man, this is a world-beating team. It's a top team, but it's like we just need to see that little bit more from RA. We know the talent's there. We know that typically when they play around their system that we saw in game 1 and 3 is like, hey, it's all about enabling iBoy and Hung, because you know FoFo will find advantages by himself, and you know Cube will be able to go, I'd say, neutral against almost everybody.
Yeah.
But we saw in game 2 they got away from that system. We see sometimes they are very hesitant on pulling the trigger. I think they're very afraid of throwing games, which honestly is very fair, very respectable. If they want to like take the time and make sure they do their due diligence, you know, power to them. But yeah, RA, I think we're still hoping to see a bit more. But the like glimmers of why this team can be at least an upper middle of the table team are still there.
The game 1 is what you want to see consistently from RA. And the biggest piece of skepticism I had was against TT. Before, was it before we went? No, it was actually a couple of days ago. You and I casted
Me
it.
and you did it. We did it.
And we saw RA against TT and we thought, this is not convincing enough. Yet again against OMG, it doesn't matter if it was a 10, 15k gold lead. It was like RA closing out the game took a while. RA threw a couple of pots and pans into the mix in that top lane fight around the red buff where OMG actually got something and kept the game going. RA need to be that consistent force if they want to be a playoff team. And the win rate looks good on paper, but that's another thing. People can't just look at Gamepedia or, you know, Game of Legends and be like, oh, this team is as good as JDG or WE. Oh, they're up there. They're really not. I actually don't think they're, you know, as good as a team like LNG right now who are more decisive. So we can be critical on RA because I think we have a lot of the facts in front of us. They're going to have to show us a lot more before we consider them a firm playoff team outside of score alone.
The good news is, right, now they're 6-3. So
Yep.
they're actually only 2 series wins under RNG and EDG.
That's right.
But then it's like you're also only 2 series wins over the 11th place team right now, which is currently BLG. So there isn't too much wiggle room. Every win does matter. And I guess that should be the story that trumps all, right? The story that trumps all should be a W's a W if your goal is to make playoffs. This is the end of LPL week 6, so we have 4 weeks after this. So there is still a bit of breathing room. It is a bit too early to talk about playoffs and things along those lines. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think we just need to look at where Rare Atom is and how can they build on what they're doing.
Because let's remember that, you know, what we've seen here, they've got time to build, right? Like, at least this is happening now where you're seeing the 2-1 against TT with some questions. Against OMG, yet again today, another 2-1. They've got E-Star at the start of next week, but then they run into FPX, V5, who are also a middling team, IG. After that, week 10, RNG, EDG. So they do have some really hard matches coming up where they will have had the time to build up to, you know, a team that can be towards the top. It's just a question of how they develop within that time range.
And you look at the damage graph, right? I'd say very expected, very even spread across most members. FoFo dealing the most, but Cube and iBoy not far behind. And Leyan also doing his fair share. And this is some of the good news for RA is that, again, individually, they're very proficient across the board. I think if we're just looking at it from a draft perspective, RA, in my mind, look their best when both mid and bot are on champions that have a bit of agency. And then I'd say Cube looks pretty solid on just about everything, right? Cube doesn't look, there isn't too much variety, whether he's on the likes of a Sion, a Gnar, a Jayce, an Aatrox. Like, he will play the matchup as well as the matchup can be played. And then again, it's just about, hopefully you have the pry on your bot lane, and then if they're not getting 2v2 kills, we know Hung is very likely to roam on the map, and that's when we'll start making them play those plays around mid. But when we see drafts that do have slower elements, RA do like to like ride on those and let those settle until they do start being more proactive.
Yeah, a little bit longer than you expect for, you know, most of these other teams. And I guess that's why I was bringing up so heavily like their schedule, because I think there is a chance that they can get punished by some of these better teams that capitalize on mistakes so well, like EDGs, like the RNGs especially. So it will. Yeah, they are
on a 5-win streak. We gotta throw some praise, man. We gotta give them the love.
You think I'm being too harsh because I'm scared.
I think we're being fair. I think our criticism is fair, but we also need to praise the good things about Rare Atom.
Well,
all hail FoFo, iBoy, and Hung. Though iBoy is hit or miss, but iBoy knows that.
But the early game, right? The early game in game 1 and game 3, I mean, we were exceptional. That's what you expect out of a top-tier team.
All three games.
True.
They were winning early
well.
every 3 game. Like even in game 2 when they were losing in kills, they were up in gold because they were winning in CS. Leyan was finding an advantage in the jungle. They were getting turret plates on the sides they were winning, which in game 2 we remember early on Cube was winning his lane. So their laning phases have been solid. They've been good. It's just about really that mid game where they struggle, because even late game, right? We see that once they firmly have an advantage and like they're pushing down base turrets, they know what to do. It's like, hey, how do we transition from point B to point C where RA looks the most confused? And I would say that is probably the hardest barrier to overcome, and that's when you do make the jump from like average to good team to like an elite team. So that seems like the part of the story that we are witnessing firsthand for RA. But, you know, another positive thing we could talk about is, who do you think the MVP is?
I actually think it'll be... is it Leyan for how he played the early game? Is it how the invade went? Or is it just going to be a kill credit like iBoy getting it? Because I honestly think... I think at the end of the day, you could probably just give it to someone like Cube, who was actually probably the most structured in that game, right?
That's what I'm wondering and thinking, if it'll be Cube. I'm saying it'll probably either be Cube or iBoy, because then you also have to wonder how much do the early kills in bot lane mean, right? Because that's what really gave them their meaningful advantage. But that TP flank on Jayce was really cool, and I feel like a lot of times in the LPL, a lot of those flashy plays get you the MVP, which I'm not arguing with. I'm a big fan of flashy plays.
I mean, iBoy was super fed, so there's always that in the back of my mind that it just might be like, well, he was fed, he did damage, because the split in damage source is something as well that kind of adds confusion. A lot of the time, we know that MVPs can be given based on who did the most impact, meaning damage, but I guess we'll wait and see. FoFo had a really good amount of, he's MVP. FoFo's MVP. I was going to say, had a really good amount of 3 to 4 man ultimates in this game, so he was part of a lot of the setup, part of the engage that you can see with his ears.
And this goes back to a conversation that we were having in the game about how this is a player who's very proficient on every style of champion, right? Again, known for his LeBlanc when he was coming out in the LMS, developed into a very solid Azir, Cassio, Ryze player, is able to play things like the Lucian, can play tanks, and he had a big impact on this game. We remember right here, this actually did come out of nowhere because we were keeping our eyes on Nu, like, okay, Nu has the flank, what's he gonna do? Suddenly off our screen, FoFo comes in, massive Emperor's Divide, and ultimately it did lead RA to a winning position. And it seems like we saw that time and time again where FoFo was the one taking advantage of OMG's oversteps.
Clean ultimates each time as well. And that's right, that's a really key point. OMG overstep, FoFo's there to punish, especially in that trade we just saw there. So a well-deserved MVP for what I think is the strongest player on RA right now. So this is, I've just been told something in my ear. I think it was in Mandarin, but unfortunately, I'm not sure, Lyric, if you caught that.
Hysterics.